Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. This time, we're going to be looking at a new system for how we rank the security of those large language models. And I think it might surprise some people to learn that even the most secure ones have been found to be breakable by skilled attackers.
Yeah, that's right. It is a fast-moving field. And one of the biggest challenges right now is that we're adopting AI so much faster than we can secure it.
Oh yeah, so is it kind of like building a supersonic jet and then figuring out the seatbelts later?
That's a good analogy, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it is really powerful technology, but obviously it's very risky if not properly secured. And so that's where this new system comes in. It's called the CalypsoAI Security Index, or CSI.
CSI. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. So tell me a little bit more about how it works.
Well, unlike the traditional approaches, which tend to just focus on whether an AI can be tricked or not, KSI really looks at the bigger picture. It analyzes how difficult it is to exploit vulnerabilities, how severe the potential damage could be if those vulnerabilities are exploited, and how well the AI can withstand different types of attacks. So it's not just a pass or fail, it's more of a nuanced view of, well, how secure is it really?
Exactly. You can think of it like this. A really simple lock on your front door might deter an amateur burglar, but a professional thief could probably still get in. CSI is like having a security assessment. That tells you what level of professional you need to worry about.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm also really curious about this idea of, well, I've heard it called agentic warfare, using AI to attack other AI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a pretty dramatic term, but it does kind of capture what's happening here.
Yeah.
They're basically using autonomous AI agents to kind of probe for weaknesses in other AI systems. These agents can actually adapt their attack strategies, discover patterns, and even uncover vulnerabilities that humans might miss.
Oh, so it's like having a whole team of digital hackers constantly testing your AI.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. What's really fascinating is that these AI agents can sometimes even uncover vulnerabilities that we didn't even know existed. It's like finding out there's a secret back door to your house that you never knew about.
Okay, now that is both fascinating and a little unnerving. Speaking of unnerving, you mentioned a security leaderboard. So what are some of the key things that we need to know about how these AI models actually stack up against each other?
Well, the first thing to remember is that it's not just about which AI is the most secure. You also have to consider how well it performs its tasks. After all, what good is a super secure AI
Yeah.
if it can't do the job it was designed to do?
Right. I imagine there's some sort of trade-off there
Uh,
between security and functionality.
Exactly. I mean, you wouldn't want a bank's fraud detection AI to be so locked down
Yeah.
that it flags every transaction as suspicious, right? I mean, that would be a nightmare for customers.
Yeah, definitely. So how do we go about finding that balance?
Well, that's where the risk to performance ratio, or RTP, comes in. It helps you to weigh the trade-offs and find that sweet spot for your particular needs.
Okay, that makes sense. But I also have to ask about cost. I mean, all this security testing can't be cheap.
You're absolutely right. That's why CalypsoAI also factors in what they call the cost of security, or COS. It basically gives organizations a way to assess the financial implications of choosing a more secure model. So for example, if you're a startup with a limited budget, you might have to make some tough choices about how much security you can actually afford.
Let's get into some specifics about this leaderboard. Who are the top performers? And are there any surprises?
Well, right now, Anthropic's Claude models are leading the pack. They have some really impressive KSI scores. But it is interesting to note that Microsoft's smaller 5.4 model is also performing really well,
Yeah.
showing a very strong balance of security and performance.
So it seems like bigger isn't always better when it
Uh-huh.
comes to AI security.
It's certainly something to think about. And then we have OpenAI's models, the ones behind ChatGPT. They're scoring in the mid-range. Not terrible.
Yeah.
But definitely room for improvement.
So even the big players have some work to do. Any other notable contenders on this leaderboard?
Google's Gemini is worth mentioning. It has a decent KSI score, and it also has the lowest cost of security, which makes it potentially attractive for organizations that are budget conscious.
It sounds like there are some really good options out there. But I have to ask, are any of these AIs truly safe?
That's the million-dollar question. And unfortunately, the answer is not as straightforward as we might like. CalypsoAI claims that they've been able to break every single AI model on the leaderboard.
Wow, that is a sobering thought. It sounds like no matter how secure an AI is, there's always a chance that someone will find a way to break it.
That's right. It really highlights this need to shift our thinking from just focusing on the answers the AI gives us to really understanding how secure the entire system is.
So it's not just about preventing the AI from giving bad responses. It's
Yeah.
about making sure the entire infrastructure is strong and resilient.
Exactly. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't just focus on making sure the front door is secure. You'd also want to make sure the walls are strong, the windows are reinforced, and that the foundation is solid.
Hmm. I'm starting to understand just how complex this whole AI security landscape really is. Can you tell me more about these operational attacks you mentioned earlier?
Absolutely. Calypso AI actually goes beyond just prompting the AI with different inputs. They stress test the entire infrastructure
Mm-hmm.
to see how it handles things like heavy loads, unusual inputs, and even abuse of its interfaces.
So they're trying to simulate real-world scenarios where someone might try to deliberately disrupt or exploit the AI system.
Precisely. Imagine, for example, that you have an AI-powered customer service bot, and it suddenly crashes during a Black Friday sale
Yeah.
because of a denial of service attack. That's not just an inconvenience, it's a major hit to the company's reputation and bottom line.
That's a really good point. Operational security is crucial, but how do we keep up with constantly evolving AI models and threats? I mean, technology changes so quickly these days.
You're right, it's a moving target.
Yeah.
And that's where the concept of continuous assessment comes in.
So it's not enough to just do a security check once and assume everything will be fine forever.
Exactly. Think of it like going to a doctor for regular checkups. You don't just go once in your life and assume you'll be healthy forever.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. So continuous assessment is about staying ahead of potential problems and making sure the AI remains secure over time.
That's the idea. It allows us to identify emerging threats, stay compliant with regulations, and most importantly, build trust with stakeholders who are relying on these AI systems
Yeah.
to work reliably and safely.
Trust is definitely a big factor here, especially with something as powerful as AI.
Couldn't agree more. And that's why the work that Calypso AI is doing is so significant. They're really pushing the boundaries of AI security, and they're providing organizations with the tools they need to actually deploy these technologies with confidence.
It sounds like while there are definitely challenges ahead, the future of AI security is looking a bit brighter, thanks to companies like CalypsoAI leading the charge.
I agree. It's an exciting time to be involved in this field,
Yeah.
and I'm optimistic about the progress we're making.
It's fascinating to think about all the practical implications of this new approach to AI security. What are some of the biggest benefits that organizations can expect to see?
Well, one of the most immediate benefits is efficiency. Automated testing platforms like the one Calypso AI has developed are so much faster and more cost-effective than traditional manual testing.
Oh, that makes sense. Instead of having a team of humans trying to find vulnerabilities, you can have an army of AI agents working around the clock, tirelessly testing and probing.
Exactly. And because it's automated, you can run these tests way more frequently and cover a much wider range of potential attack scenarios.
I imagine that also helps with collaboration, right? If different teams within an organization have access to these detailed reports, it probably makes it easier for everyone to understand the risks and prioritize what needs to be fixed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. These reports can be incredibly valuable for bridging the communication gap
Yeah.
between security teams and developers, and even executives who are making decisions about AI adoption and deployment.
It's like giving everyone a shared language to talk about AI security.
That's a good way to put it. When everyone's on the same page,
Hmm.
it's much easier to make informed decisions and take proactive steps to mitigate risks.
I imagine another big benefit is trust. The increased trust that comes with this level of rigorous testing. If you can show stakeholders that your AI system has been really put through the ringer and come out on top, that has to give them more confidence in its security and reliability.
Absolutely. It's like having a seal of approval from a trusted third party. It provides a level of assurance that can be so valuable, especially in industries where trust is absolutely paramount, like healthcare or finance or transportation.
This all makes sense on an organizational level, but I'm also curious about the bigger picture. You mentioned earlier that Calypso AI's work is part of a larger shift happening in AI security. Can you expand on that a bit? What are some of the other forces at play?
Well, one of the most significant developments is the increasing role of regulation. Governments around the world are starting to wake up to the potential risks of AI, and they're starting to implement stricter security guidelines and requirements.
So it's not just a matter of best practices anymore, it's actually becoming the law in some cases.
That's right. We're seeing regulations like the U.S. Executive Order on AI
Mm-hmm.
and the EU AI Act really pushing companies to take AI security seriously. They're mandating things like risk assessments, red teaming, Yeah. Ongoing monitoring.
It sounds like AI security is becoming as important as traditional cybersecurity.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
And as these regulations become more widespread, we're likely to see AI red teaming become as standard as penetration testing is for traditional IT systems.
So just like you wouldn't launch a website without checking for vulnerabilities, you wouldn't deploy an AI system without putting it through rigorous security tests first.
Exactly. And that's a good thing. It means that AI security is finally getting the attention it deserves.
It's encouraging to see that progress is being made, but I also have to wonder, are we in a constant arms race with the attackers? As we get better at defending AI systems, aren't the attackers also getting more sophisticated?
That's a really important point. The adversarial landscape is constantly evolving. Just as we're using AI to test AI, attackers are doing the same thing to find new and creative ways to exploit vulnerabilities.
It makes you wonder if this is a race we can even win. Will we always be one step behind?
It's definitely a challenge, but I don't think we should give up hope. I think one of the key takeaways from all of this is that AI security is not a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of continuous assessment, adaptation, and improvement.
So we need to be vigilant,
Mm.
proactive, and always willing to learn and evolve as the technology and the threats change.
Absolutely. And that's why tools like CalypsoAI's are so valuable. They give us the means to stay ahead of the curve, identify weaknesses before they can be exploited, and build more resilient AI systems that can withstand even the most sophisticated attacks.
As AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives, our homes, our workplaces, our cities, the stakes are only going to get higher, right?
You're absolutely right. The potential consequences of an AI security breach are enormous. Think about the impact on critical infrastructure, financial markets, or even national security.
It's a lot of responsibility, but it also feels like an incredible opportunity to shape the future in a positive way.
I agree. We have a chance to build a future where AI is a force for good, a tool that can help us solve some of the world's biggest challenges. But we can only do that if we take security seriously and make it a top priority.
That's a powerful message. So to recap, we've talked about the need for more nuanced security assessments, the rise of AI-powered red teaming, the importance of continuous assessment, and the growing role of regulation.
And we've also discussed the fact that AI security is not just a technical issue, it's also a human one. It requires collaboration, communication, and a commitment to building trust.
It really is a lot to think about.
Yeah, it really is a lot. I think the biggest takeaway here is that as AI becomes more integrated into our lives, overlooking security could have some pretty major consequences. It's not just about like data breaches or rogue AI or whatever. It's about the potential for real-world harm if these systems aren't secure and resilient.
Yeah, that makes sense. So can you give some concrete examples of what some of those consequences could potentially look like?
Sure. Imagine like a self-driving car that gets hacked and causes an accident.
Yeah.
Or an AI-powered medical diagnosis system making a mistake that leads to a misdiagnosis.
Yeah.
Or what if a critical piece of infrastructure, like the power grid, is disrupted because of a vulnerability in its AI control systems?
Those are some pretty scary scenarios. It sounds like the stakes are pretty high.
They are. But the good news is that we do have the tools and the knowledge to prevent these things from happening. It's just a matter of making AI security a priority and taking the steps we need to build robust and trustworthy systems.
And it starts with just understanding the risks, right?
Exactly. We need to move beyond this idea that AI is some kind of magical black box that we can just trust blindly. We need to be informed, we need to be engaged, and we need to be proactive when it comes to AI security.
So what would you say to someone listening to this and thinking, okay, this all sounds important, but like, what can I actually do about it?
Well, I think the first step is to just be aware of the issue. Start asking questions. If you're working with AI in any capacity, ask your team about their security protocols. If you're using AI-powered products or services, do your research. Find out what steps those companies are taking to ensure the security of their systems.
So knowledge is power in this case. The more you understand about AI security, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions and protect yourself and your organization.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to like push for change.
Right.
If you see something that doesn't look right, or if you have concerns about the security of an AI system, speak up. We all have a role to play in making AI safer and more trustworthy.
I love that. Well, this has been a really eye-opening deep dive into the world of AI security. We've learned about the limitations of traditional security metrics, the emergence of AI-powered red teaming, the importance of continuous assessment, and the growing influence of regulation.
Yeah, and most importantly, we've learned that AI security is not just a technical challenge. It's a human one. It requires us to think differently about risk,
Hmm.
to prioritize trust and transparency, and to really work together to build a future where AI is a force for good in the world.
Well said. I think we'll leave it there. The future of AI is in our hands. Let's make sure we build it right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.